Certainly we need to, as the world collectively speak out against the persecution of Christians in the Middle East and other groups, Yazidis, Mandeans, Shia Muslims, others. But President Putin, yes, there seems to be a double message there.
Hi, I'm Genevieve Wood with the Daily Signal, and I'm joined in studio right now by Dr. Andrew Bennett, who is the Ambassador for Religious Freedom in Canada. Dr. Bennett, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
First of all, what does your position entail? How long has this been a position, Ambassador for Religious Freedom in Canada?
The office was established by the Government of Canada in February of last year, 2013. And so I'm the first Ambassador for Religious Freedom to head the office. And it was established really, I think, because the government saw what's happening internationally around the violation of religious freedom in many parts of the world, and that this is increasing. And so we situate the advancement of religious freedom as a core element of our foreign policy, and we situate it within the context of our broader human rights policy framework.
And why do you think it is so core to democracy and peace around the world? Why is religious freedom such an important piece of that?
Well, Canada has a principled foreign policy that's grounded in the promotion of freedom, democracy, the rule of law, and human rights. And religious freedom in our Constitution, in our Charter of Rights, is the first freedom that's enumerated there. And freedom of religion...
Very similar to the United States.
Your First Amendment, absolutely. So for us, religious freedom links with other fundamental freedoms. We don't prioritize it over other freedoms, but it is there linking with freedoms. And so religious freedom really speaks to people thinking, who am I? How do I relate to others? How do I relate to the world, to God, or a particular philosophy I might choose to follow?
Let's talk about this on the international front, because as you said, this is not about what's happening religious freedom-wise inside Canada,
Correct.
but this is about what's happening around the world. And you just got back from the Ukraine, because
Yes.
you're very concerned about what you see happening there with President Putin, not just the army coming in, but what they're doing when it comes to violating, frankly, religious liberties.
Yeah, we're quite concerned as to what's happening in Crimea under Russian occupation, and also in the Donbass in eastern Ukraine, where we're seeing certain religious communities being targeted, including Crimean Tatars in Crimea, members of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the Kievan Patriarchate, Ukrainian Greek Catholics. There's been intimidation of these communities, there have been kidnappings, and even evangelicals, evangelical Protestants in the eastern parts of Ukraine have faced similar types of intimidation.
What do you think the goal is here? I mean, look, people in the U.S. right now are rightly focused on what they see happening in the Middle East. They see torture, they're seeing beheadings, murders. You're not seeing that in Ukraine in this situation.
No. What we're seeing, I think, is...
it's much more subtle.
It is very subtle. And it relates to the Russian propaganda message. Russia is trying to take what is essentially a geopolitical conflict and trying to turn it into partly a religious conflict, and using their understanding of the Russian world, which includes Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus, and that there needs to be an understanding of Russian influence in that sphere.
And so how are they, I mean, they're going after these different religions and what? Basically saying, we want to take over your churches? What are they doing that's actually causing you the greatest concern?
Well, maybe I'll use some examples from Crimea. We've seen the FSB, the Russian security services. We've had reports directly from the Kievan Patriarchate Orthodox Church, where FSB agents will sit at the back of the church during liturgies and make notes. And so that's a very clear intimidation of worshipers and clergy who are present. We've also had reports from the head of the Crimean Tatar Mejlis, the Crimean Tatar Council, of Russian security agents going door to door in Crimea, seeking out what they term extremist literature and intimidating the Crimean population, and also attempts to divide the Crimean Tatar population between those who would be loyal to Russia and those who remain patriotic Ukrainians.
So this is something we've seen before in Russian history. It's not new.
It's not new, and I think certainly within Russia itself, there is an acceptance of orthodoxy and then also non-Christian religions such as Buddhism, Islam, and Judaism that are present in Russia. But the Russian government has a problem with non-Orthodox Christian denominations. And so we see also in parts of Russia discrimination, usually through administrative means, of Pentecostals, Baptists, Greek Catholics, and other communities that don't fit in with that broader understanding.
Isn't there some hypocrisy here? I mean, President Putin of Russia has been decrying the way Christians are treated in Syria and the Middle East, but yet he seems to be practicing some of that when it's people under his domain, even those who shouldn't be, perhaps.
I think there is hypocrisy there. Certainly we need to, as the world collectively speak out against the persecution of Christians in the Middle East and other groups, Yazidis, Mandeans, Shia Muslims, others. But President Putin, yes, there seems to be a double message there. And certainly we are seeing the persecution of other Christians in parts of Ukraine, notably the eastern Ukraine and the Donbass.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for talking with us.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.